There you have it. The engines have been fired up, so here we go now. We're going to shed at these drivers and their paint schemes, and as a matter of fact, that's not a McCauley on the front row to begin this one, and that's not the right one. Here we go at the starting grid. There you are with the throwback ticker, thanks to Corbin McCauley, of course, but here starting on the front row, we have the number 88 of Scott Bailey in his 2008 Dale Earnhardt Jr. number 88 National Guard scheme, alongside the number 97 of Ty Higginbottom, who's running a Jeff Gordon number 24 Pepsi Chevrolet from 2015. Going on to the next row, we have the number 6 of Justin Belmonte running in the number 6 Mark Martin 1996 Ford, alongside the number 13 of Jared Ireland, who is running the number 11 Cale Yarbrough Oldsmobile with Junior Johnson from 1980.
Well, I tell you, young whippersnapper, as we round out the top 5, we've got Darcy Ford in the number 64 running the Sterling Marlin number 40 Coors Light Chevy with Sabco from the year 2000. And that is not yesterday, of course, as we see Corbin McCauley there in 6th running one of the Kevin Harvick schemes we'll see tonight from 2001 as we look on to row 4. We've got Dylan Baum and scheme to be determined, not running a vintage scheme tonight. However, Jonathan Peden in 8th very much is. He's running the Harry Gantz Skoll Chevy with Leo Jackson Motorsports circa 1994.
And moving on to the next row here, Kyle Knoll, also another rookie here, not running a throwback scheme tonight. He starts in 9th. Alongside him, the number 10 of Jason Butler running the number 10 Ricky Rudd 1997 Todd Ford. And that rounds out the top 10 right there. Moving on to the next row, we got the number 41 of Jose Mercado running in a Davey Allison 1991 number 28 Ford right there. And alongside him, the number 21 of Matthew Patek, who by the looks of it is also not running a paint scheme either. So there are a couple of guys who were unable to get something done here for tonight, but I mean, hey, they're still here. We got a 21 car field. Take it on, Jordy.
All right, moving on to row 7, we've got the number 36 of Michael Wolford starting in 13th, and he's drawn inspiration from another 36, that being the Ernie Irvin Pontiac with MB2 from 1998. On his outside, and I love this story personally, the number 77 of Hunter Young, he's actually got a family connection to this, as his number 77 paint scheme is based on his uncle's number 777 dirt car Sportsman, in which he won 3 consecutive races back in 2012. Love those stories. Moving on to row 8 now, we've got the number 7 of Andy Hurdle, and he's gone outside of NASCAR for his inspiration. He's gone to Formula 1, specifically the Williams Renault of 1992, driven by Nigel Mansell and Riccardo Patrese. And on his outside will be the number 98 of Mark Cox, and again, unsure if he's running a throwback there as well. We didn't have one listed at the time of production.
And I will round out the grid here. The number 29 of Jonathan War running a number 29 2003 Kevin Harvick scheme right there. And there's the number 93 of Tom Janikowski to his outside. And Janikowski running a Rick Wilson number 4 1986 Oldsmobile scheme right there. Moving on to the next row, we got the number 23 of Ryan Gibson running a Terry Labonte 1996 throwback. And to his side, the number 12 of Mike Marini running a Dale Earnhardt Jr. Excelta Chevrolet throwback from 2017. And then to round out the field, of course, he's running in his own scheme back from the 2021 Canadian Motorsports Network Formula 1 Championship with Alpha Flow Racing, his number 2 Ford. So very fitting and interesting choice from the number 2 of Daniel Cudmore. And of course, that does it for the starting grid here. So with that being said, give us a second so we can give these folks the command to go green. Here we go, pace car is off, and here we go, NASCAR Throwback 150 in North Wilkesboro is underway. Leading lap 1 is the number 88 of Scott Bailey. Ty Higginbottom holding second right there as they get a bit of a gap going there. Also Justin Belmonte's number 6 right there. Corbin McCauley and Jared Ireland battling side by side heading into turns 3 and 4. He will be able to clear the way, and now there's already a caution out. We got a spin. It's the number 10 of Jason Butler around up in the turns 3 and 4 outside wall, so that's an early caution here in this 267 lap race. Hopefully this isn't the beginning of a trend, I would say, Jordy.
Yeah, just gonna watch back on the YouTube stream here to get a slightly better look at it, but yeah, that might be a one and done for the 10. Yeah, there's the spin.
So we'll take the look as he goes down the back straightaway. And oh, Cox diving it way down low in a dive bomb, sends Butler up, rear end into the outside wall. So that's definitely not ideal.
Usually, rigs, tide is supposed to be used inside, a washing spin cycle, not necessarily getting spun on the track as we've had already.
So definitely not ideal right there. As I continue to maybe get one more glance here, maybe to get a view from Cox in the cockpit. See what may have been up here.
And yeah, definitely contact there.
Indeed so. So not a good start there for Jason Butler. And again, too, for being the first and only short track of the season here, in a way, not too surprising to see something like that, but, it's just that you're in between, you really don't want to see stuff like that, but then at the same time, again, for a short track, it's just good old short track racing right there, and just an unfortunate circumstances for Jason Butler, and a not-so-great mistake there from the 98 of Mark Cox. So Butler's still sitting on pit road now, 4 laps down, and it looks as though the field will be going back to green as they will go double file down the back straightaway.
And I mean, that's just, added salt in the wound, basically. The fact that it is the short track configuration, if there's an incident of any kind, countless laps down, even more magnified than the inners, but let's go.
That's going to be a huge jump right there for the 88 of Scott Bailey.
And Bailey, a guy who historically has been comfortable on short tracks, one of 5 drivers to capture at least one short track victory. His coming at Bristol back in season, was it 1 or 2? Let me just look.
Well, as you take a look,
season 2.
Okay, good to know right there. Thank you for that information. But Scott Bailey launching away right now from the pack as Belmonte still holds second. McCauley making his way up to third. Higginbottom falling back now here to 4th place, battling alongside Dylan Baum. You can see Darcy Ford's Sterling Marlin car right there alongside Jared Ireland's Cale Yarbrough car, as we will hit lap 10 at a 267, and obviously the reminder that there are no stage breaks, so this quite literally could go green for a very, very long time. It'll be instant-related cautions that would be the case here, and that's what we saw with Jason Butler and Mark Cox, of course. And according to my notes, the possibility about where the pit window will lie would be about 75 to 80 laps, so we can get a lot of racing going for many laps here, but then around that point, it would be, I guess, around the end of the stages, quote-unquote. That's when we'll likely expect cars to come in for what would hopefully be green flag pit stops right there. And kind of missed out on one little segment here so that we could get things quickly underway. It's a case of who to keep an eye on tonight. Personally, I'm just going to get it over with my 3 picks. Corbin McCauley, Scott Bailey, and Ty Higginbottom. I mean, McCauley's a fairly obvious one because quite literally he could... There was that possibility they could shoot away from the field, but so far he's actually kind of dealing with a challenge right now as he currently sits in third right behind Justin Belmonte. And again, I was saying Bailey there shooting away by already just kind of over a second right there over the rest of the field in the turns 1 and 2, and now the rest of the field now entering their course. I mean, Macaulay has won on short tracks previously in the past, including Richmond, Martinsville, and Bristol. I think you would call Richmond a short track, technically speaking, but we'll move on with that. Scott Bailey has won at Dover and Bristol in the past back in 2021, and he's been dying for that first win. It's been very overdue for a guy who's been extremely consistent, as we said earlier, when looking at the results and the standings, of course. He's been, again, dying for that first win ever since the 2021 Crack Device Co. 200. And, of course, you know, Ty Higginbottom recently moving back to his home state of North Carolina. The defending series champion will no doubt be fighting hard to heal his recent snake bite and put on a show in front of one of his home crowds. Jordy, can you think of anyone right off the bat?
So, you mentioned 3 guys there who have a combined 8 short track victories between them, and just to throw an aside in on Ty Higginbotham, his win at Martinsville in Season 2, I would call that probably the most dominant victory that's happened in this series on the NASCAR side, to be quite honest, because I think if he had one more lap, he would have lapped the entire field. I remember that one very, very clearly, and that got...
Whoa, trouble! Jonathan Moore gets turned into the outside wall on the front stretch. Hunter Young also won that one. Mike Marini also collected.
Oh!
Not good for Tom Janikowski, who couldn't break in time, and he gets into the 29. And the field's going to have to really slow down here, as it's practically the Chicago street course parking jam. Traffic jam, that's the term. Now everyone's going to get by. War's going to have to wait and let everyone get by here, I would assume, but not ideal. Okay, that was definitely awkward right there, but yeah, as you got a little interrupted right there.
Well, I mean, just the timing was just right on that. But yeah, let's keep more of a focus on here, trying to figure out just what went on. We saw the initial contact.
There we go.
Yeah, we'll get a good look from this side here. So, yeah, is that Cox again? No, that's War, excuse me.
Yeah, so War just wasn't clear, and he turned himself up into Young, and then Janikowski, I would think, probably just had nowhere to go vision-wise. We'll get a better look here. I would say kind of, but still not ideal, obviously.
Well, what have we been talking about before? Like, just not much. It's a short track, obviously, so that just means any kind of contact is going to be amplified, as you see here. And, you know, just, yeah, less room to operate as, again, Janikowski came through on the railroad there at the very end.
So that's Kevin Harvick, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and of course Hunter Young's uncle in the number 777 Dirt Car Sportsman, who won 3 races in a row back in 2012, so not ideal again for any of those guys. And seeing by the looks of it, Young and War are still out on the track. Butler has gotten back out. He's 3 laps down. Tom Janikowski, I would imagine it might be his left front. That might be not ideal looking if we can get a good view here somewhere.
Yeah, he might be running a Kodak outfit, but that is not the snapshot Tom Janikowski wanted to be showcasing here tonight.
Indeed, not whatsoever. You can see that left front kind of perked up right there. You can see the gap into the engine area, but again, very unfortunate there for the 93, 77, and the 29 even, and also the 12. You can see Mike Marini on pit road now. Would assume he probably will be in a little bit of repairs right here, but so far, actually it's looking as though the field's going to be going right back to green right here, or lap 24 to 267. with Scott Bailey and Justin Belmonte leading the way on the front row. McCauley right behind Bailey right there. He'll look to pounce as we will get back underway. Green flag back out here in North Wilkesboro.
And Bailey, well, I was about to say he bolted again, but it looked like, unlike the last caution, guys are staying with him here.
Indeed, and it'll be side by side between McCauley and Belmonte. No, McCauley's going to be able to clear Belmonte, and he'll shift into second place, and he'll look to chase after the 88 of Scott Bailey, who again, Bailey running a scheme of Corbin's favorite driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr. I would imagine it probably is the same with Bailey, so would you know that? Trouble!
Not before.
Big crash on the front stretch. Dylan Baum gets turned. Belmonte collected. Darcy Ford also collected. Oh, and Jonathan Warabout almost got another incident there. And what else to say? Just a product of short track racing?
I'm just not going to say anything else because another accident's just going to happen.
Yeah, pretty much so right there. What you were saying about Bailey there? Say it quickly.
I was saying that I'd have to go back to previous discussions because I think I asked him that whenever we were doing, back in season 1 for the old timers, we had the 20-minute interviews we did with each of our Championship 4 drivers, and I believe I asked Scott Bailey that question. I'd have to go back and watch it, but it's not coming to me right offhand, as a couple of guys just come off the corner and chaos ensues once more.
Indeed, so by the looks of it, if we can find it, let's get the chopper angle on this one. Dylan Baum the inside, Belmonte high side. Yeah, Belmonte just got loose and came down. Baum hard into the outside wall. Darcy Ford taking about 2 hits-ish right there. Kyle Noel very, very close to also making contact, and so was Jonathan Moore's. Baum spun back up there, so good breaks there from the 29. But
now, the interesting thing this kind of does, Riggs, the guys who've been involved in the earlier incidents, if they can keep their nose clean and things happen, suddenly you can kind of find your way at least somewhat closer back to the, maybe not so much the lead lap, but the point I'm trying to make is it seems like attrition could be a real thing here in tonight's race. So it's just a matter of here more so than anywhere else we've seen, just kind of keeping your nose clean as much as anything else. So as much as the stakes are higher, it might just be the guys who are able to keep their heads who will kind of emerge and come up toward the head of the field.
So Belmonte, Baum on pit road. Michael Wolford also down pit road making the stop right there. We'll maybe get a glimpse of what he decided to do here, whether it might be maybe some repairs we don't know of, or maybe he's just going for some fresh Goodyear tires, maybe some fuel. Are the pit boxes bigger than what they look like? Because that
I was gonna say it was quick, whatever he did.
Because from that look, it looked as though he was out of his pit box from that angle. But I guess we'll just move on from that. But meanwhile, the 88 is Scott Bailey again, still leading the way. We look at the driver info tab. He's led every lap so far, 30 laps led here. And again, for a guy who has been extremely overdue this season for a victory, could very well get it done here tonight. But then you see the number 17 of Corbin McCauley on the high side there, looking to make something happen. So we will go back to green here in North Wilkesboro. Bailey getting the jump there. McCauley trying to take advantage of the high side, but Ty Higginbottom might try to do something on the inside. We'll have to see on the backstretch here. Bailey will be able to barely clear, and McCauley able to squeeze in between the two guys right there. And as we look back, side-by-side action here between Kyle Noel and Jared Ireland, 2 rookies going at it for 4th place. Again, Ireland 2 weeks ago getting his first career victory at Kansas, very well deserving after winning both of the first 2 stages. There's trouble in the back. Daniel Cudmore around.
So forget everything I said about, this potentially favoring the conservative drivers who can keep their heads. This is going to be a crapshoot.
Yeah, it gives me kind of the flashbacks back to what we saw back in Atlanta, that big wreck on lap 1. Again, that was during a time when there was that one faster pair rule, but now this time around there are no faster pairs whatsoever. So the incident points just kind of building up a lot for a lot of these drivers here, but we'll take a look here at what happened to Daniel Cudmore. Actually, I might go back just a little bit more. Something happened with... Okay, Cox actually had turned there, and then Belmonte, a bit of contact there as well. Belmonte.
Yeah, there's the bump.
That's the bump right there. Or maybe not clear.
It could very well be that as well. It'll be something that kind of have to be evaluated after the fact, I think, rather than, rushing to judgment, especially, again, in the short track environment. It's a little bit, you want to be patient, but again, it's not the easiest thing to do.
Definitely not the easiest thing to do right there. So looking through the rest of the way here, Belmonte catching up to the field right here. There's Jonathan War. Dylan Baum on pit road right now, 1 lap down. Hunter Young just now coming out of his pit stall. Want to see here maybe. Okay, he was in there for a while again, that right front. This damage, I wonder it might be a case of maybe this is his second pit stop with repairs, I would imagine, because again, that wreck was earlier. One of the first couple ones. So he stayed there in his pit stall. Butler Marini on the track. Janikowski on the track as well. And it looks as though Dylan Baum entering the pit road again.
Maybe a penalty incurred then?
Very well could have happened there. And then there's Justin Belmonte also on the pit lane. But the pace car lights are off on the front stretch heading into turn 1, so the field will go back to double file once more with Bailey and McCauley there on the front row. You could argue these have been the two best drivers all season based on overall consistency. Again, McCauley, though, way higher in favor in terms of wins with 5, while Bailey's still at the blank 0. And then Ty Higginbottom in 3rd place. There's Jerry Lyron up in 4th, Kyle Knoll running at the top 5. So the pace car will roll off right here, and we'll go back to green once again in the NASCAR Throwback 150.
And again, Bailey, I think he may have sniffed out McCauley's attempt to go to the high line last time, because he went to that middle groove straight away as soon as he crossed the line. But McCauley's going to follow him here. So this could get spicy here early on.
Indeed, so Bailey getting away once more right there. We got a side-by-side battle between... Looks like it's... Oh, I thought I saw something there. Yes, there's trouble. 2 cars around. Mark Cox and Matthew Patek in together in turns 1 and 2. Oh, and Cox is going to spin Patek out. No caution.
Oh, man.
Short track tempers. Oh, there's a caution.
I swear, if Matthew Patek had any luck, he'd probably be better off with no luck at all right now as we go to yet another caution.
So the caution does end up coming out right there. I knew there was something that happened there in the background, but then the 2 cars went out of frame right there, but something did indeed happen, so we're going to have to take a look at what went on between Cox and...
Roger.
I think there may have been a third entity involved here, Riggs, if we go back far enough. Is there a come down here, perhaps? Yeah, look at that.
Okay, so Cox... Yeah, really just kind of getting involved on the back end there, and then that happened.
We are going single file restarts.
Yeah, so is that, trying to see, is that War again? I believe, is that War or Ford?
And I've just gotten the word here through race control. The restarts are going single file from here on out.
Probably a decent decision.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Again, lap 43 at a 267, and we've already gotten, perfect for the race summary, 5 cautions. 21 of the 42 caution, 20, jeez. 22 of the 43 laps under caution. Yikes. I can tell by the silence on your end, you got no comment.
Well, I'm just watching that incident back again, trying to figure out who that high car was.
Yeah, trying to... I think it was Ford. I'm pretty sure it was 64.
That's where my mind was going to.
Yes, it was Ford, so what would have happened was Paytack went up into him, and then that caused him to deflect into that spin, and then Cox getting collected when didn't deserve to, but then of course we saw him going and spinning Paytack out, which eventually led to a caution after a little bit. But again, 5 cautions, 23 laps under caution. I think it might change to 24 here because the cars just crossed the line. Maybe not, but through 44 laps, we haven't gotten a single lead change just yet. We've only had one leader in Scott Bailey. Macaulay is right on his bumper, but hasn't been able to get anything done in his number 17 Holland College Chevrolet with the Kevin Harvick 2001 throwback. Macaulay does have the fastest lap, though, at an 18.915, which was on lap 9 with the average speed of 98 miles per hour. So here on lap 46, coming to lap 47, a 267 here, we will be, I would imagine, we'll be going green this time by. Lights are actually still on, so we might be getting another lap here. But according to my calculations, if we were to still count how many laps are left in this quote-unquote stage, again, quote-unquote, looks as though it's going to be, we're pretty much halfway. 43 laps to go by the looks of it, until we award the first stage points.
Yeah, and again, the lack of the, we're awarding the points, but again, the lack of that actual stop, that is, I think that will change some strategies here tonight as well, Regan, because we know there's a tendency for some of the guys in the field to try and stretch out that fuel load, but tonight, you can't really get caught cheating on it. It's either you're there or you're out, and you got to kind of figure it out.
Indeed so. So the pace car now is going to roll off, so we're going to go back to green with the first single file restart of the race. So we're back underway here, lap 50 at a 267. And by the looks of it, so far so good. Some double file going on here as we got Mark Cox, and looks as though that's Jonathan Moore up there on the high side. Really shooting up the track, though. It looks as though he had a really tight entry into turn 3 right there. Belmonte trying to get to the inside of Michael Wolford. That would be for the 13th place position right there. Actually, no, I think I may have not been live right there, as a matter of fact. Maybe, but anyways, we'll get right back to this. Scott Bailey still leading the way as per usual. Macaulay following him. Rookie Jared Ireland
says he doesn't think the stream is live.
And I just got the word, I believe it sounded like the stream wasn't live. We are now, though. So, we're all good. We're just fine. Again, lap 53 at 267 here. Bailey and Macaulay pulling away there in first and second. Macaulay trying to use that inside line just like Bailey right there to stay caught up here. Hopefully with this single file restart, we may be able to maybe get a long green flag run. Hopefully the good old broadcaster jinx doesn't happen there. Again, we said Ireland in third, Ryan Gibson in fourth in his Terry Labonte 1996 throwback right in front of the Jeff Gordon car of Ty Higginbottom. So it looks as though it looks to be about single file throughout the whole field here. A bit of a double file moment there, I believe, between Mike Marini and Jonathan War. Only 16 cars in the lead lap. Hunter Young is the final lead lap car there in the number 77 or 777 based on the throwback. Matthew Patek 1 lap down. Jason Butler at 3. Marini as well. Dylan Baum is at 6 laps down, while Tom Janikowski all the way back here at 11 laps down. And you can actually see the top 2 cars right there inching closer and closer to him is Jankowski on the backstretch. These guys are now just exiting off of turn 2.
And yeah, that's the other kind of contention point for leaders as well. Like, back markers are never going to be far away here. So there's always going to be a bit of that kind of dodging, weaving, trusting the guy with you there on the track to kind of do the right thing, as Macaulay may have had a little bit of a wall tap there just to kind of straighten himself out. But yeah, just to kind of expand on that point, like, especially here, an unknown track to all of us within the Canadian eMotorsports network in terms of competition, whether it's heat or now, because obviously we didn't run it on the heat side of things. There's going to be a lot of kind of figuring things out on the fly here, and like I said, it comes back to trusting your fellow driver out there on the track whenever situations arise. So it'll be very interesting to see how the field navigates that once things kind of settle down a little bit, because I'm probably speaking out of turn saying that with 5 cautions already.
Indeed, too, and you're saying about that potential wall tap there, I mean, got to remember back at Kansas how many times we saw cars tapping the wall right off of turn 4, and I believe Bailey and Macaulay both fell victim multiple times, especially Macaulay, who, again, had to go through multiple instances of repairs on pit road, and again, he was still able to be up there at the front to, again, at the time, potentially get the victory, but of course, no, Jared Ireland was able to steal it away as he was smarter with the tires, had way better tire wear by the end on that pass with 2 laps to go en route to victory. And I believe here, yeah, very, very close proximity here between the leaders and the lap cars, as Michael Wolford and Tom Janikowski are both, you can see here, coming off turn 4, and then you see the leaders right there. They're practically both on the back stretch, or front stretch, sorry. So lap traffic will definitely become a factor here if we are able to keep a long green flag run going and maybe get some green flag pit stops, but that's still quite times away. I believe it might be another maybe 20 to 30 laps by my estimation. Again, too, tire fall off is massive here in North Wilkesboro, and it's kind of that mixture between that and the fact that entries are very tight, exits are very, very loose.
Oh, I had something for that, but let's just focus on the racing.
Oh, you had a little bit of a PG-13 joke in mind?
No.
A
little worse.
Oh, okay, R-rated. Good to know.
Yeah. Let's just say the whole Mark Cox coming out of my pants, it might have been challenged.
Yeah, 2021 All-Star race. We all remember that fondly. But yes, we're getting the challenge here. Macaulay trying to use the high side. Bailey able to clear him just barely. We're getting a very close angle here of this. Well, it was side-by-side racing for a little bit there, but Scott Bailey able to hold firm in front of Corbin Macaulay. These two battling really hard here for first place. And there's Jared Island again back in third, about 2 seconds behind the leaders. So, you know, he's just kind of there in case anything happens. And obviously, too, Macaulay is running, you know, the Kevin Harvick throwback. But at the same time, too, you look at those Holland College logos. He's got throwback going there as well.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Whenever I saw this scheme first coming together, as well, Holland College alum, I guess you're technically still a student there, so you're not part of that class yet, but it's a logo I've very much seen over the years with, family having gone through the college, whether it's students or instructors. It's been, something I've seen a fair bit of over the years, and definitely nice little refresh to bring it back there on the part of the 17. But I just want to throw back, for lack of a better term, to a couple laps ago as Bailey and Macaulay were working their way through a bit of lap traffic. One of the guys they were trying to get by was the 36th of Michael Wolford. And, again, I've mentioned sort of the gentlemanly nature of doing things here. Kudos to the 36, because Bailey and Wolford, they are very much known to be buddies in the sim racing circuit. And I wondered if maybe there was going to be a little bit of a Skittles block there from the 36 on Macaulay as he tried to go by, but both cars passed with no incidents. So kudos to you, Mr. Michael Wolford.
Indeed, and he still keeps, getting passed by these lead lap cars, of course, and I believe Ryan Gibson at some point may have overtaken Ty Higginbottom there for 4th place. That would be, the number 23 running number 5, Terry Labonte, 1996 throwback right there.
The old cornflakes bird sticking the beak out to get to 4th.
Indeed so. So now here on lap 75 of 276, Bailey and Macaulay kind of at about a half a second dip. Sorry?
267.
Yeah. It's in between about 0.2 and 0.3-ish per lap here so far. But looking here through the rest of field, Gibson just over Higginbottom, Kyle Noel following from behind. There's Darcy Ford now entering the backstretch in 7th place. Justin Belmonte behind him in 8th. Jonathan Peden and Andy Hurdle battling side by side. No, Peden's actually going to shoot right up the track in his Harry Gann throwback. And Andy Hurdle is going to take that place. Looks like he has a bit of front end damage, kind of a caved in front end right there. If we look at the rear chase cam, yes indeed, it's caved in right along that Chevrolet logo. And again, too, for a guy like Andy Hurdle, who is incredibly into open wheel racing, and we've seen him be successful on the open wheel side of the Canadian Motorsports Network, and he's also been very solid here in the NASCAR Series 2 for his first time in the next gen on iRacing. May have had a bit of a wall tap there again, too. He's not running a NASCAR throwback. No surprise there whatsoever. He's got the Williams Renault thing going from Formula 1.
Indeed he does.
Got Cannon on the side there. If we look at the rear chase cam, that'd be Labatt's Renault Elf by the looks of it.
Yep.
Alrighty then. And speaking of open wheel too, we obviously recently announced about the change to our American Open Wheel Series. The Dart Series will be coming back for another season of operation beginning in October.
I mean, I'm still on the cows train for that, but, I think Dart has got to be better in the long run.
Well, and obviously it's either Dart, it has to be either Dart or cows because, iRacing, lawfully speaking, there's a term we can't use. And if I say it right now, we're probably going to get a cease and desist email.
Again, I told you earlier I was drinking water out of my NTT, American Open Wheel Racing Series glass. So.
Yes. Oh, and the caution's out. Somewhere. Oh, it's Hunter Young in trouble.
Hey, we haven't had one of those in, actually a little bit.
Actually, that's a good thing, though. We're getting long green flag runs, which is very good to see. And considering, I would imagine we might be entering a pit window here very soon. Yeah, you can see, actually, yeah. Here come cars down pit road. There was Cudmore, I believe Cox was in there as well.
And you have to think here, Reegs, that window was probably extended a little bit by those 5 previous cautions.
Exactly. We didn't see it was only really damaged cars, guys involved in incidents that we saw coming down the pit lane. Cox coming off there with a 15.22. I want to very quickly get an idea of how many tires and fuel everyone took. So Cox, by the looks of it, going for the 4 tires, I would imagine. Yup, he will be. Macaulay on pit road, and also Ireland. Bailey, you can get a look at Bailey as well. Yep, all 3 of them are going to go for 4 tires. I mean, no surprise whatsoever. If you go for 2 tires in North Wilkesboro, and you guys saw there, Bailey actually just barely getting out ahead of Macaulay.
Man, that was tight.
That was very tight indeed at the pit exit, but so with that being, I was going to say there, if you take 2 tires in North Wilkesboro, may the Lord have mercy on your soul.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that right this second. It's a fair observation.
Indeed, and we're taking a look at the live stream right now. We got 13 people watching thus far. We got 1 like, and I am, of course, seeing you pop up in the chat. Hoping that everyone enjoys this, and obviously I'll follow along with that as well. We do hope everyone is enjoying this live broadcast, live production thus far. Again, for our first and only throwback race, our first one in a very long time, and our first and only short track race of the season. There's a couple other guys coming down pit road, obviously there, but we can also see CD Magram's in the chat. Obviously, couldn't make it to the race tonight, the number 1 car, but it's nice to have him here witnessing the race, of course. And I believe we got a Matthew Patak fan in here who's been very loyal to our broadcast here every single week. So we thank you, Rebecca, for following along here at the Canadian eMotorsports Network and the NASCAR series here in Season 4. And the pace car lights look to be off, so it looks as though we will be going back to green here on lap 80. So a 2-lap shootout for the stage points?
Effectively, yeah. Speaking of effective, look at Bailey go again.
Oh, caution.
And they're off. No, maybe they're not.
I wonder what that might be for.
Yeah, that seemed...
That was off.
Delayed green.
Okay, I'm hearing something from Jason. Give me a second. Or wait. Cars are on the high side. Are we going to be going back to green now? Or no, they're waiting for the pace car. Okay, give me a second here.
Just organizing drivers. Yeah, we're just organizing our drivers. Yes, sir. End of stage 1.
So I'm just getting word here. It was a delayed green right there, trying to get drivers organized. It sounds like there wasn't really much organization going on right there, but the pace car is going to roll off, and this is actually when the cars get back to the line here. Stage points are going to be rewarded, so technically speaking, Scott Bailey will earn 10 extra points right here out of the quote-unquote first stage. And Macaulay will get second there. Ireland Gibson will be somewhere in there between 3rd and 4th. Ty Higginbottom 5th. Kyle Knoll, Jonathan Peden, Darcy Ford, Jose Mercado, and Andy Hurdle, I would imagine, rounding it out right there. So I would assume he'd be around those 10 drivers. Oh, we're going almost 3 wide there through turn 2. Very close call between Gibson, Higginbottom, and Kyle Knoll. I mean, 3 wide is possible here, but knowing the tight entries, the loose exits, you probably won't want to do that. And there's a moment back there for the 64 Darcy Ford, who makes a great save off of turn 4. His Sterling Marlin throwback. The Coors Light Chevrolet is going to keep going, battling side by side with the 41 of Jose Mercado, who's in one of my personal favorite NASCAR schemes of all time. It's number 41 for him, but the number 28 Havoline Ford of Davey Allison. Bailey McCall.
I think just to go back to that other instance we were just seeing there, yeah, 3 wide's one thing. Short track, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one.
Yeah, pretty much the same with you on that one right there, but Bailey and McCauley already shooting away 2 seconds ahead of everyone else. It's just these two that have been flat out dominating, so it does make me wonder if these two are still alive. Yes, I say alive by the end. If these two get together, then Well,
I mean, they're pretty much kind of running and hiding from everyone else right now.
Yeah, basically. Ooh, now barely of a squeeze right there. Maybe even a bit of a tap on the back bumper there between Kyle Knoll and Ryan Gibson. But yeah, it's been practically a top 3, Bailey, McCauley, and Ireland just going at it here on the podium. Ireland in his number 13 Cale Yarborough Throwback, sponsoring Busch Beer, who, as a matter of fact, actually in real life now, Busch Beer going to be sponsoring the number 1 of Ross Chastain for the 2024 season.
Yeah, that particular shift might feel a little weird, but very interesting. I have a high suspicion that they'll now come out with some kind of
Caution!
I don't know, melon
Caution!
seltzer, I guess.
Daniel Cudmore around. Yeah, I would say what you were saying there makes sense, but anyways, Daniel.
And that is spin number 2 for car number 2. And yeah, we've got our 401 freeway logjam there again.
Cudmore may not like what you just said right there, but anyways, we'll move on.
He knows I speak facts.
Alrighty, instant replay, here we come. What on earth happened? So, Mercado had a moment. And then, Cudmore, I would assume may have just had a bit of a panic, hit the panic button. Now he's going to hate me for saying that. And he goes head on to the outside wall in between the front stretch and turn 1, so definitely not ideal right there. You see, yeah, with Mercado, great save. Never mind.
You were saying?
I was saying nothing. Stop.
Yeah. No, good old broadcaster jinx striking again.
Yeah, I really wonder, like, with Cudmore. Okay, he just kind of lost it there. I do wonder if there may have been a bit of a panic there with Mercado. You saw Cudmore's hood kind of come up right there. We'll get a look here at the 41 of Jose Mercado to see what went on with him behind Harry Gant or Jonathan Peden. Yeah, Mercado, he probably could have headed if he didn't spin the wheel back up again, hard into the outside wall, almost collected someone else in the process there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you do anything, it feels like you're doing too much.
And then he goes and hits the inside wall. Okay, that explains why the 41 was there and everyone stopped there. Okay, yeah. Makes perfect sense. Gonna make sure
Everything
no one
does eventually.
Yeah, pretty much. So Cudmore went down pit road right there. Matthew Patak passing everyone. I don't know if that might be a lucky dog case or something like that, but again, back to the leaders here, of course. Lap 102 of 267. So, of course, over 100 laps complete here at North Wilkesboro. Scott Bailey still leading the way, and if we look at his driver info tab, 99 laps led. Wonder.
No, I already did the 99 bottles of beer thing last week, so can't do that again.
Okay. Okay, I imagine it was during that little pit window, or if you want to call it like that, from the yellow flag, of course. Bailey has led 100 laps. Ryan Gibson led one of those laps under caution. Ty Higginbottom also led a lap. And did anyone else, or would the math be correct there in saying that? Okay, I guess maybe so, but yeah, that would be the case. So we're back to green now. Bailey and McCauley probably going to shoot away from the field once again, but Kyle Knowles going to try and give Jared Ireland a challenge here in a rookie battle. Again, it's the veterans going at it in the top two, and then you got in third and fourth place the two rookies, and then another veteran, Ryan Gibson, coming up behind them there in fifth place. Or I shouldn't say coming up, but we'll keep it that way, I suppose. Ty Higginbottom, defending series champion there. Jeff Gordon, Throwback. One of my personal favorites right there, going through turns 3 and 4, looking to put on a show here for at least one of his home crowds. Ford, Peden, Hurdle, and Cox rounding out the top 10. Justin Belmonte just outside right there. Jason Butler and Tom Janikowski going at it, even though they are both many, many laps down. Or at least Butler's 4, Janikowski's at 12. And it looked like Jonathan Ward had a bit of a moment right there. A tight entry in turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, he was real high in that corner. Not quite sure if he got it straightened out, but it looks like he's all good from here anyway.
Indeed, so Hunter Young heading down pit road. Wonder what he might do here. It might just be a case of repairs. Oh no, he's actually going for tires here, so the right sides are going on. See if the left sides go on as well. Might be a case of maybe strategy and try and maybe get back to maybe being less laps down, but now he's at 12 actually, so I'll probably take back everything I just said right there. But Scott Bailey putting on a decent distance over McCauley now by almost half a second. Ireland and Knoll not too close, but they're kind of there. Gibson has a moment off of turn 4. He's going to keep the car straight barely, but that's going to drop him back all the way to 7th, and now it's going to be a bit of a 4-car pack going at here for 7th with Peden, Hurdle, and Cox right in behind. And I think I might just witnessed a moment. Jonathan Moore having another moment there in the corners, and Butler and Wolford making potential contact there, and the caution's out. Oh, big wreck in turn 1.
One of those things.
Yeah, those 4 got close, and then I would imagine they got a little too close. But the caution's back out. Oh, maybe it was in front of Gibson? That might be it. We'll have to see. Oh, boy. Ireland went around. I wonder what happened there. Oh, loose moment. Oh, boy.
Yeah, lots of cars collected in that one, to say the very least. And yeah, there's the loose mode, almost turning into a drift, basically.
Oh, yep. Just a good old case of, I guess, not the most professional way to put it, but ARCA brakes. So Ireland, the number 13, comes off the corner, gets loose, and then spins it around. And Higginbottom, I don't know if I would say nowhere to go. The whole high side was open there, but probably just a panic instinct or something. And you can see it here, just a bunch of contact.
Jesus.
Another close angle of it right here.
Yeah, just nowhere to go on that.
Just good old short track racing right there. Or I don't know if I would say good old, but fans would definitely put it that way.
Yeah, it kind of looks like sandspit more than short track right about now.
Or maybe in my recent experience, East Coast karting.
Hey, shameless plug.
Because I too encountered a spin at East Coast karting. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I mean, you basically told the whole story, so
Yeah.
to say, yeah, that's all I'm going to say, like, that's all we needed to know.
Yeah. But yeah, Macaulay, or why would I say Macaulay and I? Corbin and I. That's funny. Corbin and I, both went out to Petty International Raceway in Riverglade, New Brunswick, this past weekend to check out the Super Late Models Series. Once again for round 3 of 6, and we were on Sunday after having a nice breakfast at IHOP. We went out to East Coast Karting, which I would say, it lights out for my first time racing there, and he's already done it multiple times. But again, for my first time, heck of a lot better than what Burlington and Sandspit, of course, have. And I would even want to say East Coast Karting. I'd probably want to go faster than those karts, to be honest. But still a heck of an experience. I know Macaulay and I were we were going wild. We were pretty much, bumper to bumper the whole time. Meanwhile, this other pack of friends were there, and we were lapping them pretty much every single time around, if that's a way to put it. But anyways, back to on topic, back to green in North Wilkesboro, lap 117 of 267. Bailey leading the way, Macaulay, Nolan, Ford. Yeah, Darcy Ford actually making his way up, especially after that big stadium he made a couple laps back there. So nice to see. You got even the number 7 of Andy Hurdle making his way up. And again, for I would imagine this is his first time on a short track in iRacing. So great to see there. You got also the 98 Kit Kat Ford of Mark Cox. I do wonder if there may have ever been maybe a Kit Kat scheme in NASCAR ever, but definitely nothing comes to mind there. We got a massive pack going at here. Hopefully this doesn't turn into...
I saw something in the bottom.
Oh, something...
I thought it might have been Dan Cudmore there, but I think he may have saved it.
Oh, and about that, one car going into the inside wall. That's the 77 of Hunter Young, who's going to come back on the track and maybe try to keep it going. He will. Wouldn't be surprising if he goes to pit row, but okay, he's just going to keep it going.
777s are supposed to be a symbol of good luck. He has had absolutely none of it here tonight.
Meanwhile, the guy with a single 7 is going just fine in the top 5, as we were saying earlier, and Mark Cox actually trying to maybe put up a battle against him here eventually. Maybe hopefully not have a dive bomb into a corner like we saw on just lap 1. But Bailey and Macaulay still going at here for first and second. They'll be catching up to Hunter Young eventually, I would imagine. Here now on lap 122 of 267. Still plenty of time until we get to awarding stage points once again. And there goes Hunter Young on pit road. And now we see Mark Cox and Andy Hurdle finally side by side here at the bottom of the top 5. Hurdle saying on the high side he might be able to get a slightly better exit. No, Cox is actually going to prevail on the inside line. Nice to see there. So the number 98 gets up into the top 5. And based on recent results from Mark Cox, if I take a quick look, I almost said quick take look here. Yeah, in the past 3 races that he has run at Atlanta, Michigan, and Talladega, 2nd, 7th, and 3rd. And again, for a guy that is below the cut line at, if I look at my standings here, by the looks of it, it is 32 points below the cut line with 3 races remaining. Who knows? Maybe he, if he continues this streak, maybe there's a chance he could get his way in on points, but I would imagine maybe Daytona would probably be his best shot at getting a victory. Again, we've seen his speed on the super speedways, because again, back at Daytona to begin the season, finished 8th, and then Atlanta comes home 2nd. So again, if he's able to continue this run from tonight onward, maybe even visit Victory Lane at Daytona, number 98 could be able to squeak his way into the playoffs in a few weeks.
Yeah, I think he's kind of right on that borderline of needing that victory at this point.
And now, actually, Cox is really making his way up, as now he's caught up to Darcy Ford here in 4th place. So it's a good old Kit Kat versus Coors Light battle going on here. Actually,
yeah, chocolate and beer, that combination everyone raves about.
I like one of them. The other one, please keep away from me.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yes. Oh, and Jonathan Peden got into the wall right there in turns 1 and 2, so Matthew Patek and Ty Higginbottom are going to take advantage of that. So, oh boy, here we go. Macaulay diving to the inside of Bailey for the top spot. We'll see, maybe Macaulay will try to lead his first lap of the race. No, not going to happen this time around. But hey, we're getting a side-by-side battle finally here, or, I mean, it's actually, we had a kind of a battle earlier, but now we might be able to see a consistent one here as these two are really going at it. No, Macaulay's actually going to clear Bailey using that inside line. Macaulay's going to take the lead. No surprise there whatsoever from the number 17. And it looks as though Kyle Knoll's actually going to try and catch up to these two and make it a 3-car battle for the lead. He's only about a second and a half behind the leader. And Cox and Ford are still going at it here for 4th place, while Jared Ireland trying to catch up to Andy Hurdle after his incident during the previous caution.
And we've talked a lot tonight here about Scott Bailey being hungry for a win and being good on short tracks. Don't discount Darcy Ford either, because, again, it's well documented at this point. The last victory he got was to capture the Season 2 Earl Ross Cup, but he's snuck in 3 short track victories as well, with the Season 1 victory at Bristol, followed by Season 2 at both Darlington and Iowa. So another guy who's kind of comfortable on these shorter configurations, and a guy that he really, really doesn't get rattled all that much, it has to be said. So I'd say as we're coming up on half distance here, maybe even a little bit past it by now, he could be someone to watch for here in the second half.
Indeed so, and Macaulay putting up now about a half a second distance ahead of Scott Bailey. So again, Bailey looks as, if I take a look here, yeah, it looks as though, again, we're just past halfway through this race. Maybe it's a case Scott Bailey dominated the first half. Maybe we see Macaulay become the second half dominator, but again, it's still pretty early to certify that fact just yet. And now look at this, Mark Cox trying to make his way up to 3rd place now to get the bottom of the podium. I would say Cox, maybe a case of saving the tires, or maybe on that last caution was able to get some fresh tires versus everyone else. He's really making his way up.
Yeah, clearly he's figured something out here in this run, which, you know, I don't want to say it too loud, but it's been encouraging, shall we say.
Yeah, you probably want to keep it that way in case anything goes wrong. And meanwhile, the guy on the other end of that little fiasco between both Cox and this other driver in particular, Jason Butler, still stuck back in 17th at 4 laps down, so definitely not ideal right there. And Jonathan War still having issues on corner entries. So again, the other Kevin Harvick throwback, not really having a great night here so far, back in 16th at 3 laps down. Again, there's a Kevin Harvick throwback up at the top of the board, and then there's one closer to the bottom, so not best to see right there. As Jared Ireland, I believe, may have just gotten past Darcy Ford. Okay, I believe Ford may have gotten a little bit tight right there through turns 3 and 4, so Jared Ireland's going to take advantage right there. Kyle Knoll still able to stay in front of Cox for 3rd. Oh, Knoll may have had a bit of a moment right there, maybe a bit of a wall tap or something, and then Cox diving all the way down to the inside, but Knoll hanging on there on the high side. So they're able to keep it straight, but they are really losing ground on the top 2, as Kyle Knoll is now 4 seconds behind the leader. Meanwhile, you can see the distance there between Macaulay and Bailey down the back straightaway, now at about a second. And Macaulay catching up to the lap. Michael Wolford actually still on the lead lap, but it looks as though he'll be going a lap down here very shortly. And then there's Tom Janikowski, who on the other hand is at 12 laps down. And kind of looking the rest of the way here, Ryan Gibson at 20 laps down. Hunter Young is at 24. So these guys are kind of just, riding the way, just trying to get laps complete, maybe take advantage of if something else occurs here very shortly or just sometime in the near future, and they end up going way more laps down than these guys, and these guys could maybe squeak into maybe about top 15 range-ish.
Yeah, and that's the thing with these, 18, 19-second laps here that you've got at North Wilkesboro. We mentioned it earlier. It hurts that much more whenever something happens. And we've seen Hunter Young, for instance, get involved a couple of times, whether it's collected or self-inflicted. He's had a couple of incidents here this evening, and you mentioned almost a couple dozen laps down now. And again, this is a guy who won a couple weeks ago. So that just is a further demonstration that every race provides a new opportunity. And, what happens one week, absolutely no guarantee that you'll be able to replicate that success moving forward. And especially here tonight, I'd say the knuckles are going to be pretty white for a lot of these drivers here by the end of the evening.
Indeed, so we had a lot of drivers behind the scenes talking about how tired they probably, or I won't say probably, they'll certainly be when this race comes to a close. But again, it's nice to, at the same time, it's nice to see these drivers come in here and put on a hell of a show and put in a lot of determination, a lot of hard work to be able to finish this race again. We still have 21 cars on the track. We haven't had a single DNF yet, which is really it's both surprising but also excellent to see, because knowing again now that we don't have fast repairs anymore, we've seen the past races, we've had multiple cars go out in DNFs, but for North Wilkesboro, at 148 or 149 laps in, about to be 150, everyone's still on the track.
Yeah, and I mean, we've had stuff happening pretty much, well, actually, yes, from lap 1, there was our first caution at that point, and as we see someone going slow there on the start-finish straight, who was that? Was that Cox? No.
I believe that was Hunter Young you were talking about there that was going slow through turn 1. So he drops to 25.
It goes from bad to worse for him here tonight by the looks of things.
And 25 laps down now as Bailey's going to look to pass him here on the inside. And he'll clear the way as Young slows down and stays away right there. There's the number 2 of Daniel Cudmore, 3 laps down in 14th. Not the greatest position, but at the same time, though, definitely a heck of a lot better than a lot of other guys in the field right now. And speaking of the last name Cudmore, we've got a Cudmore in the chat.
All right, I should probably go back to YouTube to see this. Hey, what's going on, Doc?
Mr. Darcy Cudmore in the chat here. Nice to see you here, and we gladly appreciate the kind words of great broadcast as per usual. But yeah, giving the shout out to Darcy, and now we're also giving the spotlight to the Cudmores all over the place here, and Daniel Cudmore on the track here decided to have a little bit of a very almost up against the wall moment right there going through turns 3 and 4. But again, the number 2 of Daniel Cudmore, we've seen him a couple of times running a green and white paint scheme sponsoring the Cudmore Design brand. So great to see him. That would be for Cody Cudmore. So yes. We're getting Cudmores all over the place here in this discussion. So again, great to have you here watching this, Darcy Cudmore.
Well, while we've got him, we should mention that Dan's original paint scheme was for Darcy Allen PR. So we should particularly shout out the man who's actually in the chat.
And that, yes, indeed, to that as well. So again, Daniel Cudmore throwing back to his 2021 Formula One championship in his Alpha Flow racing car. It's kind of I find it kind of funny in a way where it's at some point in discussions and such, I decided to grab I looked at every single throwback scheme and I calculated all the drivers that would be in the field. You know, there's like Dale Jr., Kevin Harvick, Cale Yarborough, and Rick Wilson, Ricky Rudd. You got all those drivers, and then there's Daniel Cudmore.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who would throw it back to himself.
Well, I mean, maybe it would have been a little nicer to have a Montreal Canadiens paint scheme.
Never again.
You can tell by those words from Jordy, he definitely approves of it.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
Lap 161 and 267 here will be very, very soon approaching 100 laps to go in this race. And again, too, after all the chaos that we were seeing in the first, 40 laps or so of the race, it started to slowly dip into more of a case of green flag green flag racing.
Take your time.
Yes. And now we're really starting to get those runs, and cautions are kind of an every now and then thing, or maybe right now we're not even getting them at all. And I don't know what's going on here between Peden and McCauley, who are getting really close here, as Peden, again, trying to stay on the lead lap, but now he's going to go one lap down, as now only 8 cars remain on the lead lap. And I just noticed here, actually, Mark Cox has fallen back to 8th place. I wonder if something might have happened with him.
Yeah, it might take a little bit of a look back to see where that drop occurred.
By the looks of it, I don't see... Okay, no, there it was. As soon as I'm saying it looks like, oh, there's nothing. Oh, wait, never mind. So, there was the moment right there. So, not good for the number 98, who was really making a surge up to the top there in 3rd place. I wonder, though, if that actually might have caused him to wear out his tires, unfortunately. But again, still in the run for a top 10 here, not too shabby there. And McCauley actually making his way up to the 98, so that might make it 7 cars in the lead lap. And again, we got Hurdle, Ford, and Belmonte here just coming off of turn 4. Meanwhile, McCauley is now just getting off turn 4, so McCauley seems to have finally be grasping that speed that we've seen out of him throughout the season here, again with 5 wins in 10 races. In the first half, again, it was the number 88 Scott Bailey leading every single lap, other than that little, those yellow flag pit stops where we saw a couple other guys leading 1 lap each. He was the first half guy. McCauley looks to be the second half guy. And it wouldn't be surprising, knowing McCauley's experience and his talents, for the first and only short track race of the season, it's no shocker whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair assessment to make. Again, he's a guy who's won at 3 different short tracks like we talked about earlier. But at the same time, knowing guys like Scott Bailey and Darcy Ford, as McCauley actually got a little loose there out of the turn. Just to go back to that point, those 2 guys, Bailey and Ford specifically, they're pretty good at playing the long game here, so still a long way to go. Yeah, the laps are ticking down quick, but you still got to cover the mileage.
Indeed, and actually, speaking of loose, Scott Bailey, I believe, may have just had a bit of a moment there off of turn 2. About had the rear end going around on him, but he's able to keep it going as he is about 1.8 seconds behind. Jared Ireland just getting through turns 3 and 4 here, back in 3rd place. Kyle Knoll in front of the lap car, Matthew Patek holding 4th. Belmonte just getting through turn 4. Darcy Ford as well. There's Andy Hurdle. Cox in the middle of 3 and 4. Bailey's going to eventually have to get around the number 98, but 7 cars on the lead lap here. For a lot of guys, it's going to be a matter of needing multiple cautions for guys to have to, have the opportunity to be the lucky dog. But McCauley, again, about 2 seconds ahead here of Scott Bailey. And
again, the fact that it's been kind of clean and green here over the last little bit. Yeah, some guys, as you mentioned, they all have for something to happen, just as long as it doesn't happen to them.
A little bit of a sky cam view here to see what's going on. Actually, as a matter of fact, that made me just to actually catch a moment here between Kyle Knoll and Michael Wolford along the left rear quarter panel of the 36. So actually that camera helped out even though it was very zoomed in, obviously. But taking a look at the race summary here so far, 8 cautions, 39 of the 174 laps under caution. We've had 4 lead changes, only 2 different leaders being Bailey and McCauley. McCauley was able to get a faster lap than he did back, like we said, back on lap 9. 18.854 on lap 48 at 98.4 miles per hour. Looking at the... Whoa, and...
Too slow here.
Jonathan War slow here through turns 3 and 4. And he's going to head to pit road. Oh, that was a little close there with Mike Marini. War is now 5 laps down. Marini is still at 4 at the moment. And we got a little bit of tight racing going on here between Baum, Knoll, Cudmore, and Belmonte. And Belmonte, had a bit of a moment there with a bump in the grass going through turns 3 and 4. And now the leader, McCauley, heading down pit road. I would imagine, too, again, knowing that lap 89 and lap 1... What was it again? 178. Yeah, 170. Yeah, we're now on lap 178. And again, the pit window about 75 to 80 laps. So we're now starting to see cars taking green flag pit stops here. We wonder, again, during those first 40 laps of the race, we wondered the whole time if we would ever get green flag pit stops. But we finally are for good. So McCauley with a 13.43. Ford and Knoll here also on pit road.
And that would be stage points as well for the 17, correct?
Indeed. So actually, I think based on stage points, I believe Bailey is going to, quote-unquote, win the second stage. And by the looks of it, Ireland and Peden are going to be, I think, would be to wrap up the podium. I think McCauley may have gotten 5th or 6th or somewhere in that range.
Well, let's just see if I can go back and... Yeah, because he pits at the beginning of 178. So he's technically, well, obviously he's not over the line. So that's not the stage win going his way.
But yeah, the number 88 National Guard Chevrolet, technically 2 stage wins right there. And he's still in the lead right now. Now he won't be as he heads down pit road. McCauley, or Ireland, I believe, is going to now end up taking the lead as McCauley is now just getting through turns 1 and 2, is way behind Ireland. So the number 13 is going to take the lead. Bailey will head into his pit stall. I would imagine he'll be going for 4 tires and fuel here. And that will be the case. Wolford also
again,
coming
if we're
off.
looking at that 75 to 81 fuel run, what's going to break first here? That fuel or the tires? And if, something happens to go awry here in stage 3, as kind of historically things have, you wonder just how much guys are, well, I guess that'll afford guys opportunities to stretch things a little bit more. But I still think things could get a little spicy here toward the end.
Indeed, so Ireland still leading the way here. I would imagine he'll probably be coming down the pit lane here very, very shortly as he holds the lead by about 9 seconds ahead of Corbin McCauley. Scott Bailey 1 lap down, though, knowing that he's now on fresh tires. He's going to go back on the lead lap, remaining in 4th place. And I just noticed, by the looks of it, the number 29 may have disconnected, so Jonathan Moore, I believe, might be the first DNF of the race. That would not be surprising whatsoever, as he, again, we've been seeing him dealing with plenty of... Oh, and there's a car around turn 4. Caution. Oh, and another car. Oh, and another one, too. Higginbottom.
And is that Knoll there, the first spinner?
That was indeed the 15 of Kyle Knoll going around, and Knoll, That's not well coordinated. That's definitely not well coordinated.
Well, I'm just catching up here on the YouTube feed to see what I can see, and yeah, just kind of high out of turn 4, caution instantly because he kind of went into pit lane, and yeah, there's a little tag on Higginbotham there as he tries to get himself spun around effectively.
Bailey.
And yeah, let's just see here. Yeah,
Cox in the wall.
Nolan Belmonte, as you said. And yeah, there's Bailey getting slowed down, as you mentioned.
And then you just...
Belmonte doing a premature donut to try and get himself straightened out.
And then... almost spun Marini. And then spins Belmonte. Oh, goodness.
Well, I guess we'll see if this works.
Actually, now that I think about it, too, maybe the 29 actually accumulated enough incident points, because, again, with how many times he got, had those moments in the corners, those tight entries, wouldn't be surprising if he accumulated enough incident points where he just had to be disqualified. So whatever happened, he's still that first DNF. Or actually, no, never mind. I think I might be seeing the incident points here. He only has 4, so it might just very well have been, just not wanting to bother with it anymore. But you see here again, though, just anarchy going on off of turn 4. Noel just collecting others as he can.
Yeah, that Marini tap, Belmonte again.
And under caution here, Jared Ireland went down pit road. So Ireland's still leading the way. Yeah.
Interesting thing here to think about, Riggs, and this is coming from not having any awareness of the pit strategies whatsoever, just kind of historical patterns. We know Kyle Knoll to be a guy who occasionally takes 2 tires on pit stops. You were talking about that earlier being absolute hell, for lack of a better term, at North Wilkesboro. I wonder if maybe that's a contributing factor. If indeed he did go that way, again, we don't have that knowledge right offhand, but I wonder if that could be a factor, if that was something that he'd chosen strategically a little bit earlier on.
Indeed so, and with the pace car rolling off, we're going to... Okay, I am actually very shocked that we're going back to green here. Definitely not organized whatsoever. We're just going straight right back to it, and Jared Ireland's going to lead the way. Over Bailey, McCauley. Mercado's up there, even though he's 2 laps down. Again, we saw...
No, go ahead.
We saw earlier one of those restarts get abandoned so that there could be a little bit more organization, but this time around, it's just like, get right back at it. And Ireland and Bailey are going to go side by side for the lead here, but Bailey diving it down the inside. He's going to be able to clear Ireland, and he's going to take the lead back here on lap 194. It'll be now 195 at 267, and you go ahead with what you were saying.
Well, what I was going to say, and ultimately it didn't amount to anything, just... I was noting Mercado and McCauley coming out of turn 4, because obviously, both day 1 drivers, guys with a little bit of history, it has to be said, but on that start-finish straight, everything kept clean between those 2 guys. All good, keep it moving.
Indeed, and this is the time where we want to thank our sponsors with the Canadian Motorsports Network and the NASCAR Series here for Season 4. Holland Hurricanes, Kyle's Fried Chicken, as you see that little throwback logo there on the bottom left, Rampage Coffee Co., Wing Snob, and GTR, both the team and a sponsor. And we'd like to thank TrackCams22.com for providing these amazing camera angles here to really enhance and emphasize our broadcast to make them really, truly look professional here on the iRacing service. And again, for our first time around on iRacing, about that.
Got a little dusty.
Jonathan Peden around turn 3. Number 33 MBR Chevrolet with the Harry Gant throwback. Oh, jeez! Oh, wow.
Well, I know you were about to tee up the crank it up, but he kind of got cranked himself going into that turn, it would appear. And we need another look at this, I think.
I'm actually on Belmonte, but I'm supposed to get a look on him later. Okay, that's a little too early there. We'll see what happened here with the 33. Oh, just loose off the corner, through the grass. Couldn't keep it straight. Hard into the outside wall. And then just watch the 6 at Justin Belmonte as he comes up here on the high side. Peden trying to back up, and ooh, yikes. And even Cudmore, too.
And then a brief disconnect. But then the Gator ultimately got it turned around, and yeah, this is caution number, what, 9?
I'll see on the summary here eventually. But I really want to get an angle here from Daniel Cudmore. Whew.
Yikes.
Indeed, that is a yikes. So, I think if maybe we can get a little bit more organized on this next restart, maybe we'll be able to get that trackcamswindu.com 3-word thing going. I'm going to wait on saying those 3 words specifically here very soon. But 88 of Scott Bailey still leading the way here. And if we look at the race summary, as you were asking, 10 cautions. That would be 46 of the 201 laps under caution. We are now in 9 lead changes, 3 different leaders. Macaulay got a new fastest lap on lap 181 at 99 miles per hour and 18.7. And I wanted to look at the weather info earlier. Partly cloudy, 28 degrees air temperature, 37 degrees track temperature, the humidity at 1%, the wind speed looks to be about in between 15 and 20 kilometers an hour per hour, and then the wind direction at east. So, again, very slick racetrack, not much grip. These guys have had to battle all night.
Yeah, and it's been a battle primarily between, again, your 2 top horses here, so to speak, in Scott Bailey and Corbin Macaulay, with, you know, them holding 99% of the lead outside of pit stops, basically. And yeah, as we approach 60 laps to go, maybe even below it now, because I am incapable of reading, I think we're in for a shootout. Let's go to Reeves.
Yep, green flag is out, and we will give this opportunity for the TrackCams22.com. Crank it up.
Oh, thank you.
And the Crank It Up is going to have to stop here as the caution is out. So we'll have to toggle that, get the ticker back on. And we did see during that Crank It Up, there was a moment towards the middle or the back of the field. But no idea who may have potentially been involved in that one. I do see Hunter Young towards the back here, so we're just going to take a look and see if we can find it. Okay, yes, actually, here it is.
Gonna say, was that Ireland in pit lane we were seeing? Yeah, there's some spinning.
Into the inside. I don't even know if you would call it a wall in a way, but Jonathan Peden and Hunter Young getting together. So we'll see here. Peden had a bit of a disappearing moment, and then contact. Young goes down, Peden goes up. Probably a racing incident at first glance. Not ideal for either driver, and I am going to really need to try and go back and see what on earth may have happened towards the back of the pack, because something did indeed happen. Just don't know for sure. Ah, there we go. There's something. Ah, yes, there we go. Jared Ireland had a moment. Someone else did too behind them on the front stretch, but so Ireland spins down the back stretch, and then there's a moment. Oh, okay, yeah, Jonathan Peden had a moment there as well. So almost 3 wide there too. And then, of course, later, as we saw, gets together with Hunter Young. So we were still able to get laps of the Crank It Up done, so we'll just leave it at that. But TrackCams22.com, even though that was a little short-lived, we thank you very much for offering the oval package cameras for our first season here on the iRacing service to really give us professional broadcasts here, give us really good live productions here on the Canadian Motorsports Network. And we are for sure to get, hopefully, maybe more of that whenever the Dart Series comes around in October, if there are some road cameras, maybe. Don't know for sure on that, but with the ovals that we will visit with the Dart Series, I would imagine that we will be using TrackCams22.com for many of the ovals. Definitely not North Wilkesboro.
Indeed not.
Because I do remember one time in behind-the-scenes discussions, I did joke around that maybe we should try Martinsville.
There are road cameras, and I will get them.
You did, and you saw the result of that.
And I just got word that there will indeed be road cameras from, I would assume from TrackCams22.com. So I got the word on that one. Jason Butler, you have to give him credit for being the one to go out and get these cameras from TrackCams22.com. So a thank you to both him and them for helping us out, of course, here with these broadcasts. But anyways, back to green here. Lap 213, a 267. Corbin McCauley leading the way. And would you look at that? Matthew Patek and Andy Hurdle up into the top 3 as Hunter Young goes to pit road.
Yeah, a couple of Ohio boys. They're definitely some, we'll say they're not necessarily always aligned. I think is probably a generous way to put that. As Bailey sneaks down the inside of Hurdle there. And if Bailey and Patak come together to make a bit of a block here, Corbin McCauley could be under.
Whoa! Big
not.
save from the 97 of Ty Higginbottom. I don't know how he was able to keep that thing straight with a bunch of cars behind him, and Jonathan Peden also having a moment back there as well. But Higginbottom going up the high side right there. I think he's waiting to go down pit road indeed. That is the case. But we'll very quickly have to check what on earth just happened with him. Okay, loose moment off of turn 4, and then, oh, wow, okay, Noel did get into the side of him. Definitely a heart attack for the number 15 and even the 97 as well. But they're still going.
I think Marini might have gotten him for good measure there as he was going through. Just a little tap, but I think he did get him.
Apparently so. And there's a bit of a log jam back here towards the back of the field. And Kyle Knoll, by the looks of it, disappeared. Oh, I think I know why. I see 20 incident points out of the number 15.
Yeah, DQ doesn't stand for Dairy Queen in this case.
And yet I had a Dairy Queen meal when I went to Petty. Ironic. But unfortunately, that's going to be the second DNF of the race. Jonathan Moore, on the other hand, I believe was more just a case of not really much else to do. But Kyle Knoll reaches 20 incident points For other drivers with incident points, Ty Higginbottom sits at 16. Meanwhile, Hunter Young is at 17. Mike Marini is 16. So there are a couple guys that are on the brink of a potential DNF. And actually, there's another disappearing driver, Mike Marini. So that could be a third DNF as well. So we're just getting DNFs left and right. Or DQs, whatever it is, left and right. But we'll keep it going here. What does matter here, though, is that Corbin McCauley is leading the way by about over a second and a half over Scott Bailey. Matthew Patak holding third as Darcy Ford tries to catch up and get on the back end of the podium. Andy Hurdle back to fifth. Mark Cox entering through turns 1 and 2 now in sixth place. Ty Higginbottom holding firm in seventh, although we did go to pit road. But then again, though, only 6 cars in the lead lap, so a lot of other cars many laps down, so he's able to stick it in there and still hold the top 10 position of 7th. So he's the first car a lap down. Belmonte in 8th, Jonathan Peden holding 9th. Again, we saw some incidents there from the number 33, but again, being only one lap down versus a bunch of other guys who are plenty more laps down, he's still able to hold firm with the top 10 position. Jose Mercado, same thing there in 10th. Daniel Cudmore in 11th. Butler holding 12th. Ireland all the way back in 13th, which is very unfortunate considering, again, we saw in the first half of the race, it was Bailey, McCauley, and Ireland just going at it there on the podium. Ireland wasn't in that battle for the lead, but he was showing off terrific speed and a lot of momentum coming off that victory 2 weeks ago at Kansas Speedway. But again, though, the 13 is locked into the playoffs, so the extra points that he can gain are still very valuable when it comes playoff time. But he still is relatively safe, again, with that spot. Or I won't even say relatively. He practically is.
Oh, very much so. It's just been, he's found the points when he's needed them, basically. And with
Jason Butler around on the front stretch. He keeps it going, no caution, and I think Peden might have also had a moment there. You keep going, because we're still green.
I was actually about to be thankful for a caution, because I had no idea where I was going with that. But, yeah, Butler kept it straight. But, yeah, if you're saying Peden had a little bit of a moment, that's, a few instances for that Skoll number 33 here now, and North Carolina, tobacco territory, and that Skoll car, very much a tobacco product, kind of slippy here from the 33, it has to be said.
Yeah, that's a way to put it, then that's for sure, with McCauley taking to the start-finish line right there for lap 230 now of 267, so we're very shortly going to be getting to 30 laps to go in the NASCAR Throwback 150. Scott Bailey trying to keep a decent distance between the two at about a second behind. It looks as though I actually might be catching up a little bit. We'll have to keep an eye on that as this race, or we could technically say third and final stage, winds down, but we're not going to pivot at that. Darcy Ford up to third place over Matthew Patak, so that would be a great finish for the number 64, who took, again, we said pre-race, a massive leap in the points from somewhere to somewhere. Oh, and
now we got a caution.
Now we have a caution. Where on the track would this be? I am going everywhere and I'm seeing nothing.
Well, let's see if I can... I'll go back on the YouTube stream to see where it was triggered. So, 231, it hadn't been triggered yet. At this point, you might find it before I do. Oh, so it's the end of 231, beginning at 232 is where it's triggered.
Whoa. Was it there? I am really trying to see where it may have occurred here. I see smoke from Peden. No.
Yeah, it was as Darcy Ford was on the start-finish straight, it would appear. Like, that's when the yellow came out. But the one thing this does do, Regan, while we're kind of figuring this out, I was just starting to think a little bit about what a final pit stop might look like. You got a caution here now. I wonder if this is the opportunity for some guys to do it, because then you don't have to worry about fuel windows. You don't have to worry about tire wear, really, with 30 to 35 laps to go. And I think we're maybe seeing that come to fruition with some of the back markers, at least.
We believe it's the 77. 77 brought out the caution. 77.
Okay, I am getting word here through race control that apparently the 77 might have been the culprit.
He is in pit lane, so I wonder if that's...
Ah, there we go. Oh, front end. Okay, we're going to have to go way more back here. Yeah, way back. In the wall in the back stretch. Dives into turns 3 and 4, and then he just cakes in the outside wall, loses the front end completely. Heads down the front stretch. Definitely not the way you'd want to Ross Chastain by any means.
No, and the other consideration there, I think you said he was on 17 incident points before. I wonder if that got him to 20.
He's at 17 now.
17 now, okay.
Yeah.
I
So
thought you said 17 before. My bad.
I think I might have said that for another driver, but I'm seeing here... Again, I'm trying to remember these rules that we have. Obviously, fast repairs are done. If you accumulate 16 incident points, that equals a black flag. If you accumulate 20, the server automatically disqualifies you. So I do wonder if Marini, maybe that black flag came out for him, and then he just decided to probably call it quits there. And then again, Jonathan War only had 4 incident points. So again, War was probably a case of just... not much else to do, no point. Marini sees the black flag, doesn't see a point there either, and then Kyle Knoll actually reached 20, so not great there. Everyone, the pace car rolls off, everyone rolling up on that high side. And the green flag is out. We are at 30 laps to go in the NASCAR Throwback 150, with Scott Bailey leading the way. Corbin McCauley right on his rear bumper. He's going to go to the inside, try to make a battle go here through turns 3 and 4. Bailey holding firm, though, on the high side, sort of. He's going to lead the lap. McCauley is still going to stay to the inside there. They're still going to continue to battle hard here down the back straightaway. These two cars have been the dominant ones here tonight. So it'll very well be either one of these guys, but then again, though, you see the number 64, Darcy Ford, is catching up. We've seen him on a surge. Oh, and Bailey and McCauley are going to have contact here through turns 1 and 2. I think McCauley may have gotten tight up the track, and that's going to cause him to fall back, and Bailey's going to now clear the way for the lead, and Ford is only going to catch up even more now.
And those top two, they've certainly developed a history over the years of racing hard, but primarily fair, as Ford had a bit of a wall tap there. But
Yes.
bringing it back to Darcy
Whoa,
Ford,
whoa, whoa. Trouble.
or not.
Oh, Mark Cox around in turns 3 and 4. And number
Yeah,
9.
the Kit Kat car might have broken off a piece of the wall there in the turn.
Oh, come on. All right, we'll see what happened here with number 98.
We did see it was going the wrong way at one point.
Just lost it. Outside wall. Car goes around. He slides right along it. And thank goodness no one was able to end any more trouble there with him. I thought Hickenbottom may have been a little bit closer there than I thought he was, but no, he was able to have a fair distance there to get around. But again, for how many cars are laps down, the 98 is still in the running for a top 10, so not too shabby, but at the same time, though, damage could cause Cox to end up going a couple laps down, and he's now at 8 incident points. So, and thank goodness.
That's something that I was talking about a little bit earlier, too, like the factor of kind of attrition as guys eventually drop off. Like, there is potential for decent finishes still, even though, there's a lot of guys who are a number of laps down. There's still opportunities to potentially make something happen here in the final stages of tonight's Throwback 150.
Indeed. So Jared Ireland now coming down pit road here, 3 laps down, trying to get some fresh Goodyear tires, maybe see if he can improve himself. But we are inching closer and closer here now to 20 laps to go in North Wilkesboro Speedway. And again, there's one guy I want to potentially keep an eye on here who is, although he does have, if we get a better angle here, looks as though his right front is a little caked up, caked up just a little bit. But that number 2 Alpha Flow Racing Ford is 1 lap down. If there's one more caution, he gets back on the lead lap. He could very well be in the fighting for something better than 10th.
Yeah, I mean, single file, if you're kind of bunched up behind, like, there's a little bit of room to maneuver there if you're Dan Cudmore and potentially have something where, as you mentioned, can get back on the lead lap. So remember how I kind of discounted what I said about conservative drivers earlier? Maybe I bring that back into play. Whatever makes me sound good.
For sure. So it looks as though the pace car lights are off. And we'll be going back to green here with 21 laps to go. And speaking of number 21, at 21 MBR Motorsports, Chevrolet is in 4th place. He'll look to make a run here for a better finish, maybe even a podium. But we're going to go back to green here. 21 laps to go in the NASCAR Throwback 150. Only so much time left in the first and only short track race of the season. Scott Bailey.
I'm surprised Darcy Ford wasn't a little bit closer to the back of Corbin McCauley on that restart. Yeah, there's a bit of, maybe wanting to take it easy and play there, but, you got to be in it to win it as well. And as you see, there's already a gap forming between 2nd and 3rd 1 lap into this restart.
Indeed, so there's a decent gap between almost everyone up here up front. It looks as though Bailey and McCauley are likely going to get away from the field, as Darcy Ford has a gap between him and McCauley, and then him and Paytack, holding firm on 3rd place right there. And if I look at my statistics here, Ford only has 1 top 5 on the season back at Homestead, so it would definitely jump him a couple spots again in the standings if he were able to hold on there for 3rd. And about that, we're getting a battle up here up the front for the lead. McCauley trying to use the high side, Bailey sticking to the inside. And it looks as though McCauley might be able to prevail on the high side. No, I think he actually might have gotten tight there through the corners. And Bailey's going to barely lead that one. Or Bailey lead that one, if you want to try that.
Sure, you did.
I tried. But down the backstretch, down the backstretch, 2 cars, 88 and 17, still side by side. McCauley a little bit up the track off of the final corner. There's Justin Belmonte coming off the pit lane. He'll try to exit off safely, and he will at 1 lap down in 9th place. So now it looks as though Belmonte would be the lucky dog if we were to get another caution here. But McCauley is going to clear Bailey and take the lead. Looking at his driver info tab, he's led 80 of the 252 laps. Bailey, on the other hand, 161. But again, though, it's not about the laps led. It's about who is there first at the checkered flag.
Yep, who's leading the last one?
You gotta lead the last one, and all those other laps don't matter. Again, we saw that at Talladega 2 weeks ago, and we're for sure to see that Daytona 2 weeks from now. And then there's the Hellfire known as Texas Motor Speedway next week.
Yeah, Hellfire right in the bull ring, basically.
Yeah, you could say that term for the next 2 weeks, really. But
yep.
McCauley leading the way by about half a second here over the 88. So we're going to be coming up here to 11 laps to go in the NASCAR Throwback 150. It's the pattern that I've really liked with these races, especially whenever it's Macaulay up front. He may dominate a race or just, lead a lot of laps. It doesn't matter, whatever way it is, it's never, ever easy for him.
No, and I mean, that speaks to, the overall parity of field as well. It's something that, we highlighted basically right from the start of the year. And, the fact that we've got 5 winners and could very well still be looking at a 6th different one tonight if something happens in the next 9 to 10 laps. But yeah, you mentioned the fact that it hasn't come easy. There's been a lot of close finishes there as well in that time. So yeah, the fact that Macaulay's kind of able to keep his head at the end as much as anything else, because that was something that, it's been a maturing process. Now we got ourselves a sprint to the finish here, buddy.
And it might be a good thing that we're sticking to single file restarts here, because we're going to get a shootout to the end here as the number 41 of Jose Mercado goes around at the end of the front stretch. And we're going to really get a look here at what happens. So just another loose moment off a corner exit. In the middle of the track, he's able to avoid the outside wall and back down before everyone else comes along.
Before the leaders specifically came along.
Yeah, exactly. And so with that, the 41 of Jose Mercado is the culprit of this late race caution. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, just slippery as much as anything else. And what were we literally just saying about nothing coming easy in this series?
Yeah, broadcaster jinx happens there. Macaulay, he may dominate a race. We've seen that out of his 5 wins, but they never come easy. And that even he said that in post-race interviews, post-win interviews, maybe that's a way to put it. He loves how it's not easy for him. Although ironically, too, at the same time, whenever there's been races where he's lost, but he knows that he had better speed and had, a good chance. He loves to win, loves to compete. Whenever he loses, he's not happy. And I mean, that's very fair for a guy who just, is competitive and wants to win, but also understands. He also understands too, maybe not in the moment every time, but he understands that this is still a competitive field, even though he may have the most wins on the season and he may dominate most races, but he's got a very, very competitive and diverse field behind him, and it's quite a lot of parity behind him. So we might end up seeing the proof of that here, as it looks as though it's okay. The pace car lights are still on, so I do wonder if we're going to get a 2-lap shootout to the end. You're about to say something. Go ahead.
I was about to say, over the course of the 4 years, you talked about some of the characteristics there. I think if you asked, a number of drivers who've been here since day one, I think they would say there's been a maturing process to Corbin Macaulay as well. Not to suggest anything necessarily from season 1, but, definitely you kind of alluded to more of an understanding or, an ability to roll with the punches, so to speak. There's definitely been an evolution there from, 2020 to now, and that's to be applauded. And I think, I would say that's probably contributed to his, run of success, especially over the last, in this season especially, but, the kind of overall run of consistency that's just really kept going from the beginning.
Indeed so, and the car lights are off. We're going to get a 2-lap shootout to settle the NASCAR Throwback 150 at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Everyone's going to pack up here. Green flag. Macaulay gets a good jump. Bailey will have some work to do here to try and have a shot at battling for the win.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting 40 seconds or so here, Reegs, and that's just ticking down right away. It's going to be a white flag right out of this corner.
Indeed, so it's going to be a quick one. White flag is out. Final lap here at North Wilkesboro. And I thought there was a bit of a moment going on back there, but Bailey's going to try everything that he's got to try and catch up here, but it looks like it's not going to be enough. Through turn 3 and 4 for the final time, the number 17 Holland College Chevrolet with the throwback to Kevin Harvick is going to win the NASCAR Throwback 150 at North Wilkesboro Speedway, and he decides to go for a little bit of a spin there through turn 1, just as a little bit of a celebration. And if my eyes are correct, did Andy Hurdle just try a Ross Chastain?
I was just going to point that out too. I think he may well have. Which I don't know if that's going to work legalese.
Well, we'll take a look here. Number 7. Oh, he did go for it.
Absolutely wall riding. It didn't help him. Because, I mean, he was behind Paytack and stayed behind.
I mean, does the rule book say anything?
I believe it's been brought up in a past conversation. Because I think somebody may have joked about trying it. The fact that it's been tried? Interesting.
And he still kept his position anyway, so that does it for him. But I actually noticed something back here. There was actually an incident, I believe. Oh, yeah, Gibson. And spins Mercado into the outside wall. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I don't know how appropriate an analogy this is going to be, but I think, yikes, just looking at that right at the end. Somebody did something bad to Gibby's cornflakes there at the very end. And, yeah, you see the end result. As, again, whether that's done intentionally or not, yeah, just that kind of last little spin / burnout, whatever you want to call it, from Corbin McCauley. But ultimately, at the end of the night, the 17 stands alone.
There he goes, celebrating on the front stretch. This isn't exactly live. We have to obviously capture this because by now everyone would have come to an end here, so you can see him going at her with the rear tires. And I'm sure he will love this one because I know, knowing him as a diehard NASCAR fan, he was one of many fans praying for the return of North Wilkesboro. And it indeed was able to come back in great fashion, knowing that his all-time favorite driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., was the guy at the front, at the helm of the effort to bring the track back in real life. And even obviously here to iRacing, definitely very special to see out of the number 17 Chevrolet. And he's actually, as a matter of fact, doing a bit of an Alan Kowicki throwback here, doing the bit of a backwards victory lap here.
Yeah, and one of the guys waiting for him at the start-finish line for the podium shot there, Darcy Ford, I believe he's run a scheme from Mr. Kowicki in the past in one of our throwbacks.
Maybe a bit of a mishap going on right there, but he gets back to the start-finish line to join his veteran pals in the 88 of Scott Bailey and the 64 of Darcy Ford. And about a perfect spin right there to get to the middle of the track there at the start-finish line. And then you see the other guys, Bailey there in his Dale Jr. throwback, and also Darcy Ford in the Sterling Marlin throwback. Lining it up there at the start-finish line. Ford taking some time there, but he eventually does. And what an angle you get right here of these three. There it is, your podium for the NASCAR Throwback 150 in North Wilkesboro. So with that being said, Is Macaulay going to try and celebrate a little bit more? Is he going to stay at the start-finish line? Maybe trying to get a victory lane position, trying to see what he's doing here before we get to the unofficial results. And, yep, he's going to stay at the start-finish line, so this will be a fair enough angle right there, maybe if we get to whenever we get to the post-race interview, but we'll kind of go for more of a scenic view here as we will toggle the unofficial results here. Bit of a conclusion here to the throwback ticker that he was able to put together. So again, the guy that built together this incredible throwback ticker that we were able to use for this broadcast, the guy wins it on this. So great to see there. So yeah, the number 17 is going to get his 6th win of the season. 6 wins in 11 races for the number 17 of Corbin McCauley, winning half of the first half races, and now he's starting off the second half with a banger. No surprise there. Scott Bailey and Darcy Ford rounding out the podium there for claiming his second top 5 of the season. Scott Bailey continuing on an incredible, now it's 9 race top 10 streak. Matthew Patek, number 21, with a solid finish, a 4th place right there. Andy Hurdle coming home in Ross Chastain style in 5th place. Number 97, Ty Higginbottom, with a stellar 6th place run there for his home crowd. The number 98 of Mark Cox got caught up in a couple of incidents throughout the race, but was able to hang on and take advantage of staying on the lead lap with a 7th place run. The number 6 of Justin Belmonte, the final car in the lead lap in 8th place. You got the number 2 of Daniel Cudmore, the first car a lap down, but he still gets a 9th place finish, and again, he's been on a decent streak here of top 5 and top 10 finishes, which will only help him in the battle for that final playoff spot, and this will definitely give him momentum heading into Texas and Daytona, especially Daytona, knowing his super speedway results here thus far, his efforts. And to round out the top 10, 3 laps down, the number 13 of Jared Ireland coming off the win at Kansas 2 weeks ago. Definitely had the speed for something better, was up there right on the podium. But again, top 10, not too shabby. Definitely could have had better out of him, but still not bad. Top 10 for the rookie right there. You take away the rest of the results for us, Jordy.
Yeah. So we got Jonathan Peden finishing 3 laps down there in 11th. Dylan Baum in the 4 laps down in 12th, as is Michael Wolford in 13th. Jose Mercado finishes 5 laps down in 14th. Definitely a little bit slippery there at times for the 41, and a number of drivers over the evening, it has to be said. Not just picking on the one guy in particular, just, slippery all around. So yeah, then we get to some of the guys who finished a little bit further off the pace. Jason Butler, 12 laps down in 15th. Tom Janikowski, 16th, 14 laps down. Ryan Gibson, 32 laps down in 17th. Kyle Knoll, 54 laps down in 18th. Mike Marini, who we believe DNF'd in 19th. And then there should be 2 more there, I do believe, to round out the field. Jonathan Warr would be one of them, and then Hunter Young would be the other. Only in reverse order, of course. Hunter Young finishing 20th, Jonathan Warr rounding out the field. So you've got your bookending Kevin Harvick schemes here at the Throwback 150.